Okay, so have you ever felt like you're just totally missing the mark when it comes to showing your partner you care, like you're putting in all this effort, but they're just not feeling the love? Maybe you've even had those arguments where you're both left thinking, what are we even fighting about? Well, I'm diving into Gary Chapman's The Five Love Languages today, and let me tell you, this book is like a decoder ring for relationships. It's all about understanding that we each have a specific love language, the way we most deeply, feel loved and appreciated. And when those languages clash, well, that's when things get messy. It's kind of like that time I tried to surprise my partner with this elaborate home-cooked meal, right? I spent hours in the kitchen sweating over the stove trying to recreate this fancy recipe I found online. I thought it was going to be this super romantic gesture. But turns out my partner's idea of a romantic evening is actually just chilling on the couch, watching a movie and having some takeout. They appreciated the effort, of course, but it wasn't really speaking their love language. And that's Chapman's whole point.
It's not about what W think is loving, it's about what makes our partner feel loved. So let's break down these five love languages, shall we? First up, we have words of affirmation. This isn't just about generic compliments, it's about expressing sincere appreciation using words that resonate with your partner. Chapman gives this great example of a husband who notices his wife's anxiety about an upcoming presentation and leaves her a note saying, "I know you're going to rock it." That simple act of encouragement spoken in her love language makes all the difference. Next, we have quality time. And this one I think is where a lot of us trip up. It's not just about being in the same room, it's about truly focused attention, being present with your partner, and making them feel like they're the center of your world. It reminds me of this friend of mine who is dating this guy who's like obsessed with gadgets. He was always fiddling with his phone, checking emails, and you're totally distracted. My friend felt like she was constantly competing with his technology for his attention.
Eventually, she sat him down and said, hey, when we're together, I need you to be present. Put away the phone, look me in the eye, and actually listen to what I'm saying. And you know what? It made a huge difference. He started making an effort to be more present, and their relationship actually thrived. It's about realizing that sometimes those small moments of focused connection are more valuable than grand gestures. Then we have receiving gifts. How real. Now, this one can be a bit tricky because it's not about materialistic extravagance. It's about those visual symbols that say, I was thinking of you. It could be a simple bouquet of flowers, a handwritten note, or even just picking up their favorite snack at the grocery store. It's the thoughtfulness behind the gesture that speaks volumes. And I'll admit, this is definitely my love language. Like, I remember this one time my partner brought me back this weird little souvenir from a business trip. It wasn't anything fancy, but the fact that they'd thought of me while they were away meant the world to me. Like, those little tokens of affection are a physical reminder that you're cherished and thought of. Moving on, we have acts of service. This is all about showing love through actions, doing things that make your partner's life easier. It could be anything from taking out the trash to fixing a leaky faucet to making breakfast in bed. And it's not about becoming a servant or doing everything for your partner. It's about those gestures that say, I want to lighten your load. No. Now, I'll admit this one isn't exactly my forte. I'm more of a words and gifts kind of person. But I've learned that even small acts of service can go a long way. Like, I used to get annoyed when my partner would ask me to fold the laundry. I'd be like, ugh, can't you do it yourself? Ma. But then I realized that for them, it wasn't about the laundry itself. It was about feeling supported and cared for. So now I actually try to make an effort, to do those little things without complaining. It's all about shifting your perspective and realizing that those acts of service are actually expressions of love. Finally, we have physical touch. Now, this one can be a little misinterpreted. It's not just about sex. It's about feeling physically connected through hugs, holding hands, cuddles, even a playful touch on the arm. It's about that sense of warmth and intimacy that comes from physical contact. And I think this is one where societal norms can really come into play. Like, some people are naturally more physically affectionate than others, but the key is to find a level of physical touch that feels comfortable and loving for both partners. So there you have it, the five love languages. Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is all well and good, but how do I actually apply this to my own relationship? And well, that's where things get really interesting. Chapman talks about this idea of a love tank, right? He says it's like this invisible reservoir we each have that needs to be filled with love, in order for us to feel secure and happy in our relationships. And just like a car can't run on an empty tank, we can't function properly in our relationships when our love tanks are depleted. We become irritable, resentful. It's just not our best selves. How do we fill each other's love tanks? You guessed it, by speaking each other's love languages. It's like finding the right key to unlock that flow of affection and appreciation. But here's the catch. Those love tanks can leak, you know? Stress arguments, misunderstandings, even just the daily grind of life can create those little cracks that drain our emotional reserves. So it's an ongoing process, this whole love language thing. It's not a one-time fix. It's about making those consistent deposits into each other's love tanks, especially during those tough times when those tanks are most vulnerable to leaks. I'm not saying it's always easy. Like figuring out your partner's love language can be a bit of a puzzle sometimes. Chapman suggests paying attention to how they express love to you because often that's a reflection of their own love language. But sometimes it's more about what they're not doing right. Like, what are they complaining about? What are they always asking for? Those can be clues to their unmet love needs. It's kind of like this one time my partner and I were planning a vacation. I was all about finding the most luxurious hotel, with all the bells and whistles. But my partner kept pushing for a place that was more secluded and nature-focused. At first, I was like, why are you being so picky? But then I realized they were craving quality time, away from the hustle and bustle, a chance to really connect with each other. It wasn't about the fancy amenities. It was about that shared experience, that feeling of being fully present with each other. So we ended up finding this amazing cabin in the woods, and it was perfect. We went hiking, we cooked meals together, we just sat by the fire and talked for hours. It was exactly what we both needed, even though we didn't realize it at first. And that's the beauty of this whole love language thing, right? It's not about reading minds. It's about learning to communicate our needs and pay attention to the needs of our partners. Now, some people might argue that this whole love language framework is too simplistic. That it puts relationships into these neat little boxes. And sure, it's not a magic bullet that will solve all your relationship problems. But I think it's a really helpful starting point. It gives us a common language to talk about our needs and expectations, which can be especially valuable when we're feeling stuck or disconnected. It's like once you understand the basic concepts, you can start to apply them to your own unique relationship dynamic. For example, Chapman talks about how couples can use their love languages to resolve conflicts. Like let's say you and your partner are having a disagreement. Instead of getting caught up in the blame game, you can take a step back and ask yourself, okay, what love language is my partner speaking right now? What unmet need are they trying to express? Maybe they're criticizing your behavior because their love language is words of affirmation and they're feeling unappreciated. Or maybe they're withdrawing emotionally because their love language is quality time and they're feeling neglected. Once you understand the underlying message, you can start to address it in a more productive way. You can say something like, hey, I hear that you're feeling hurt and I want you to know that I value you. How can I show you that in a way that speaks to your heart? Okay. It's about shifting the focus from who's right to how can we connect and understand each other better. And I think that's really the essence of this whole love language thing, right? It's about learning to speak a language that resonates with our partners, a language that makes them feel seen, heard, and loved. And in doing so, we create a deeper, more fulfilling connection that can weather the storms of life. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want? To feel loved and cherished by those who matter most to us. Now, Chapman focuses mainly on romantic relationships in his book, but I think these love languages can be applied to all sorts of relationships, right? Like friendships, family dynamics, even work relationships. It's about recognizing that everyone has a unique way of feeling valued and appreciated, and it's up to us to figure out what that is and speak that language. For example, I have this friend who's all about acts of service. Like if you want to make her day, just offer to help her with something, like picking up groceries or walking her dog. It means more to her than any gift you could give her. And I have another friend who thrives on words of affirmation. Like she's super creative and she just lights up when you compliment her work or tell her how talented she is. It's like those words fuel her fire. And it's funny because once you start to understand these love languages, you start to see them everywhere. Like even in my own family, it's become this running joke.
My mom is totally gifts. She loves giving and receiving gifts, and she's always showering us with presents for no reason. And my dad is all about quality time.
Yeah.
He just wants to hang out with us, go for walks, watch movies, just be together. And sometimes they clash. Like my mom gets upset that my dad isn't as enthusiastic about the gifts she gives him. But it's all in good fun. And we've learned to appreciate each other's quirks and the unique ways we express love. And I think that's really the key takeaway here, right? It's not about expecting everyone to speak the same love language. It's about being willing to learn and adapt and appreciate those differences. It's like once you have that awareness, you can start to build stronger, more fulfilling relationships across all areas of your life. Now, before I wrap up, I want to touch on something that Chapman doesn't really address in his book, but I think it's super important: the connection between self-love and love languages. Because how can we truly love others if we don't first love ourselves right? And part of self-love is understanding our own love language and making sure our needs are being met.
Like, I used to think self-care was all about bubble baths and face masks. But it's so much more than that. It's about giving ourselves the same love and attention that we would give to others. And it's not selfish. It's essential. Because when our own love tanks are full, we're better equipped to give and receive love in all our relationships. So if your love language is words of affirmation, practice positive self-talk. Write yourself little notes of encouragement. Celebrate your accomplishments. Remind yourself of your strengths and talents. If your love language is quality time, schedule in some solo time to do things you enjoy, without feeling guilty or obligated to anyone else. If your love language is receiving gifts, treat yourself. Buy yourself that book you've been wanting or take yourself out for a nice meal. If your love language is acts of service, do something nice for yourself, like cleaning your apartment or organizing your closet. And if your love language is physical touch, get a massage, take a yoga class, cuddle up with a pet, anything that makes you feel physically nourished and cared for. It's about recognizing that we deserve love too, and it's up to us to make sure we're getting it. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today, diving deep into Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages. We've explored the different ways we give and receive love, the importance of filling each other's love tanks, and the connection between self-love and healthy relationships. But I want to leave you with one final thought, something to ponder. If you navigate the complex and beautiful world of human connection, what if love languages aren't just about receiving love, but also about giving love in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling for us? Like, what if we embraced our own love languages, not just as a guide for how we want to be loved, but also as a guide for how we want to give love? Because at the end of the day, love is an exchange, right? It's a dance between giving and receiving, and at its best when both partners feel seen, heard, and cherished. So go out there and speak your love language, and don't be afraid to let others know how they can speak yours. And remember, love is a journey, not a destination. So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep loving. I'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.